The story begins with a detailed coordination of a significant business transaction involving the purchase and delivery of goods. The organization required careful planning as individuals contacted the shipping company to arrange appointments for picking up the products and to ensure the smooth execution of deliveries. The efforts involved confirming purchase quantities, managing warehouse logistics, and addressing urgent shipping needs. Critical communication was necessary because some goods awaited the shipping company's approval before packaging and installation for transport could proceed. Simultaneous to these business efforts, a serious health concern arose involving Miss Tuki's deteriorating eye condition. Those close to her, including family and friends, voiced deep worries about her health and the urgent need for medical attention. Despite these concerns, Miss Tuki displayed mistrust and hesitancy toward medical treatment, which intensified the emotional strain on her loved ones. A central figure named Henry committed himself to finding a reputable hospital and an experienced doctor to examine her eyes thoroughly. His involvement symbolized a critical intervention, yet the family wrestled with respecting Miss Tuki's autonomy while stressing the necessity of timely treatment to avoid permanent damage. The situation highlighted complicated family dynamics marked by layers of trust issues and uncertainties. Discussions revealed doubts about who deserved trust within their circle, including suspicions about individuals' motives and behaviors. Henry, known for his kindness and reliability, was seen as a beacon of support who could guide Miss Tuki through the medical process. Nonetheless, other individuals caused tension and suspicion, further complicating the emotional landscape around her care. Multiple attempts to encourage Miss Tuki to accept medical evaluation and treatment persisted throughout the unfolding events. Family members showed concern for her well-being and emphasized the risks of delay. Their approach involved direct support and the involvement of nurses and advisors to assist with registering for examinations. Despite these efforts, Miss Tuki grappled with her fears and uncertainties, reflecting the psychological struggle common among those facing serious health issues. Meanwhile, business operations related to the shipment and delivery of goods continued demanding attention. The synchronization between managing health concerns and maintaining shipping schedules underscored the contrast between everyday responsibilities and profound personal challenges. Managers and workers coordinated diligently to prepare the goods and finalize contracts that guaranteed delivery. The urgency was evident, with half of the products already packed and awaiting the shipping company's final approval to proceed. Amid these challenges, trust and responsibility became central themes. The family's reluctance to trust certain individuals contrasted with their confidence in figures like Henry. This conflict illustrated the tension between skepticism and hope, doubt and assurance, as those around Miss Tuki balanced their responsibility for her health with their commercial obligations. As events progressed, it became apparent that Miss Tuki's eye condition was worsening more rapidly than anticipated. Medical examinations showed significant deterioration, prompting doctors to advise immediate intervention to prevent irreversible damage. The family's remote location further complicated timely access to medical care. Nevertheless, with Henry's involvement, plans began forming for travel abroad to secure prompt examination and treatment, bringing cautious optimism to the situation. Emotionally, the story captured Miss Tuki's gradual, if reluctant, acceptance of medical care. Supported by her relatives and healthcare professionals, she prepared to visit the hospital, obtain prescribed medicines, and face medical procedures with resilient determination mixed with apprehension. This portrayal highlighted the human dimensions of courage and hope amidst health struggles. Underlying interpersonal relationships strongly influenced these health and logistics developments. The narrative intertwined character interactions involving suspicion, misunderstanding, reconciliation, and alliance building. Figures such as Mr. Vaughn and Mr. Henry represented contrasting roles, Mr. Vaughn eliciting distrust, while Mr. Henry garnered faith and admiration. These dynamics enriched the story with emotional complexity, reflecting the intersection of personal hardships with practical realities. Ongoing communication among family, workers, and medical personnel underscored the demands of managing a serious health crisis alongside daily responsibilities. It illustrated the necessity for cooperation, patience, and mutual support, bringing to light the intricacies of human connection under pressure. Overall, this story reflects the strength of familial bonds, the trials of confronting serious illness, and the delicate interplay of trust and accountability within a community. It reveals how personal resolve, collective support, and professional care unite to foster hope and healing despite daunting challenges. This first chapter sets the stage for a profound and compelling journey of struggle, care, and resilience. The unfolding saga of Miss Tukai's health crisis is both a deeply personal journey and a reflection of broader human experiences that touch on vulnerability, resilience, and the intricate webs of trust that bind individuals and their families together. The multifaceted nature of the story is evident from the very beginning, where two seemingly disparate worlds, the urgency of business logistics and the fragility of human health, converge and influence each other in profound ways. The business side of the narrative sets the stage with detailed logistical efforts aimed at managing the purchase, packing, transportation, and delivery of a sizable quantity of goods. The constant back-and-forth communication with the shipping company reveals the importance of precision, reliability, and timing. The pressing need to adhere to schedules and meet contractual obligations runs parallel to the family's mounting anxiety over Miss Tukai's worsening eyes. This juxtaposition illustrates the everyday pressures that people face when extraordinary personal challenges collide with routine responsibilities. At the heart of the story lies Miss Tukai herself, a young woman caught in the throes of a physical ailment that carries the terrifying possibility of permanent vision loss. Her reluctance to accept medical help is not simply a refusal of treatment. It is an expression of profound emotional turmoil, distrust, and fear. These emotions are not unfounded and reflect a complex psychological state that many patients with chronic or debilitating conditions experience. The dread of invasive procedures, uncertainty about the outcome, and a desire to maintain control over one's body and decisions create a formidable internal barrier to seeking aid. Henry, a compassionate and steady figure, is the emotional and practical anchor within this swirling storm. His role transcends typical caregiving duties. He embodies the liminal space between external support and respectful autonomy, mediating between urgency and patience. Henry's persistence in finding a highly qualified doctor and a reputable hospital demonstrates his commitment not only to Miss Tukai's physical health, but also to restoring a sense of trust and safety within her world. His efforts illuminate an important dimension of caregiving, the need for emotional intelligence and sensitivity toward the patient's fears and resistance. Underlying the immediate medical concerns is a web of familial and social relationships that add layers of complexity to the scenario. Doubts, suspicions, and past conflicts seep into the current crisis, coloring interactions and decisions. The story references Mr. Van, a figure surrounded by mistrust and ambiguity, whose presence casts shadows over the family's cohesion. Contrastingly, Mr. Henry is portrayed as a figure of unwavering reliability and moral strength, embodying hope and reassurance. This dynamic between contrasting characters serves as a powerful narrative element that heightens tension and deepens the psychological realism of the story. The geographical and socio-economic context significantly influences the unfolding events. Living in an isolated and resource-constrained environment creates barriers that amplify the story's stakes. The inability to access timely medical care due to distance, lack of transportation, and economic hardship highlights systemic issues that transcend individual willpower. The family's resolve to seek treatment abroad reveals not only their desperation, but also their tenacity and hope. It symbolizes a broader struggle against structural obstacles, a quest for healing that is both personal and emblematic of larger social realities. The narrative meticulously explores the varied emotional states experienced by Miss Tukey and her family members. Anxiety, hope, frustration, and moments of tentative acceptance ebb and flow, reflecting the complex psychological landscape shaped by illness. Miss Tukey's fears about losing her sight, the family's gentle urgings, and the efforts of healthcare providers to bridge the gap between reluctance and compliance form a substantial part of the story's emotional core. The slow advancement toward acceptance is fraught with setbacks, self-doubt, and moments of courage, providing a nuanced portrayal of illness as a journey rather than a simple medical event. From a thematic perspective, the story engages deeply with the notions of trust and responsibility. The skepticism towards some family members and the firm belief in others mirror real-world complexities where loyalty and betrayal, suspicion and faith, conflict and harmony coexist. Henry's persona as a dependable and empathetic figure stands in stark contrast to the more ambiguous character of Mr. Vaughn, whose presence elicits caution and apprehension. These contrasting figures reveal the fragile foundation of social trust, particularly in times of crisis when emotions run high and decisions have far-reaching consequences. The story also sheds light on the psychosocial dimensions of caregiving. Advising Miss Tukey, negotiating with her fears, and facilitating medical registration are depicted as acts requiring patience, tact, and empathy. The involvement of nurses and healthcare workers in encouraging compliance illustrates a collaborative effort extending beyond the family, underscoring the importance of community and professional support systems in managing chronic illness. Intersecting with these personal and relational developments are the relentless demands of everyday life, symbolized by the ongoing business dealings. The detailed depictions of warehouse operations, contract negotiations, and shipping logistics represent the unceasing pressures the family faces, balancing survival and care. This contrast between ordinary and extraordinary challenges enriches the narrative, grounding it in reality while amplifying its emotional resonance. As the story progresses, medical developments heighten the urgency of the situation. Examination results reveal alarming deterioration in Miss Tukey's eye condition, prompting medical advice that immediate intervention is critical to prevent irreversible damage. The gravity of these findings accelerates family decisions and plans, creating a tension-filled anticipation of an uncertain future. The prospect of traveling abroad for treatment injects hope, but simultaneously raises concerns about cost, logistics, and the emotional toll of separation and unfamiliar environments. The portrayal of Miss Tukey's gradual acceptance of treatment is a powerful element of the story. The narrative captures her internal struggle, the oscillation between fear and trust, resignation and hope. The detailed descriptions of hospital visits, medication preparations, and diagnostic procedures not only serve to advance the plot, but also provide intimate glimpses into her humanity. These moments of vulnerability and courage encapsulate the universal experience of battling illness, reminding readers of the resilience inherent in the human spirit. The interplay of personal histories and social ties enriches the narrative texture. Conflicts, misunderstandings, and alliances among characters like Mr. Van and Mr. Henry lend emotional depth and complexity, reflecting the multifaceted nature of human relationships. These interactions highlight how crises often expose underlying tensions and ambiguities, challenging individuals to navigate difficult decisions amidst emotional uncertainty. Continuous dialogue among family members, healthcare providers, and business associates illustrates the multifaceted nature of managing health crises alongside practical responsibilities. The need for coordinated efforts, communication, and emotional support is evident, demonstrating that healing encompasses both physical treatment and social collaboration. Ultimately, this extended narrative represents more than a medical story. It is a profound exploration of family bonds, social complexities, and human endurance. It reveals how hope and healing emerge not in isolation, but but through collective strength, empathy, and the willingness to face hardship with courage and compassion. The dense layering of character development, contextual challenges, and emotional nuance creates a rich tapestry that invites thoughtful reflection on the nature of care, trust, and the relentless pursuit of life amidst adversity. The final chapter unfolds as an expansive, richly detailed chronicle of Miss Tukey's complex journey through recovery, richly textured with the nuances of medical processes, emotional transformations, family dynamics, and the socioeconomic realities bearing on their lives. It paints a vast narrative landscape highlighting the intertwining of physical healing with psychological resilience and social support. From the outset, Miss Tukey's entry into the recovery phase is marked by a flood of mixed emotions: trepidation, hope, frustration, and determination. The narrative explores her medical journey with intricate precision, describing the sequential steps of her treatment regimen in compelling detail. Early assessments by ophthalmologists include specialized diagnostic tests such as visual field analysis, retinal imaging, and intraocular pressure measurements. The doctor's careful interpretation of these data sets sets the stage for a comprehensive treatment plan tailored to her unique condition. The story captures the tension between clinical detachment and human empathy as healthcare professionals navigate delivering complex information while soothing a patient burdened by fear. The treatment unfolds with painstaking care, encompassing medication schedules, surgical preparation, and rehabilitative therapies. Miss Tukey endures medications with side effects like dryness, irritation, and fatigue, each challenge captured with vividness that draws readers into her lived reality. Surgical procedures and minor interventions are described not only by their clinical steps, anesthesia, incisions, laser treatments, but also by the emotional responses rippled through her consciousness. The narrative lingers on moments of vulnerability and strength, the flinch at a needle, the relief of a painless outcome, the exhaustion after an operation, and the quiet hope seeded by small signs of improvement. A pivotal segment details the rehabilitation process, which integrates medical protocols with holistic care approaches. Miss Tukey participates in vision rehabilitation exercises designed to optimize remaining eyesight and improve adaptation to deficits. Sessions include specialized eye tracking exercises, contrast sensitivity training, and activities to refine depth perception. Detailed scenes depict her gradual mastery of these tasks, the frustration of slow progress, and the exhilarating breakthroughs, the first clear view of a distant face, the deciphering of fine print previously obscured, and the regaining of confidence in daily activities such as walking unaided or navigating familiar spaces. The narrative emphasizes how rehabilitation transcends physical rewiring to include psychological adaptation and affirmation of agency. Throughout this journey, family emerges as a living, breathing entity woven into every detail of care. Henry is portrayed as the unwavering anchor, a figure balancing roles as organizer, nurturer, and emotional linchpin. The description of Henry preparing schedules, managing medication reminders, and accompanying Miss Tukey to each appointment exemplifies his dedication. Yet more poignantly conveyed is his quiet attentiveness to her fears. The way he listens with patience without rushing answers, offers comforting words grounded in honesty, and holds her hand through moments of anxiety. The extended family storylines enrich the canvas with subtle interpersonal dynamics. Siblings balancing their own lives with caregiving duties, parents wrestling with helplessness and hope, cousins sharing tasks to lighten burdens. These vignettes paint caregiving as a delicate choreography of shared love and rugged endurance. The narrative weaves trust and reconciliation as central thematic threads, unfolding with subtlety and respect for human complexity. Characters initially seen through lenses of suspicion, especially Mr. Van, are gradually humanized through reflective dialogue and revealing moments. The story traces the erosion of mistrust and the tentative rebuilding of relationships, illustrating that such processes require humility, communication, and time. These developments mirror the healing journey itself, imperfect, non-linear, but capable of profound transformation when nurtured with compassion. Interlaced with familial and medical strands is a vivid depiction of healthcare professionals as essential pillars of support. Doctors, nurses, therapists, and counselors emerge as fully fleshed characters, imbued with expertise, warmth, and humanity. Their interactions with Miss Tukai are shown in layered scenes, explaining complex procedures in accessible terms, providing gentle reassurance during difficult treatments, monitoring progress through detailed medical records. The story highlights a holistic model of care where emotional well-being is prioritized alongside clinical outcomes, underscoring the symbiotic nature of healing between patient and provider. Socioeconomic and geographic challenges permeate the narrative, situated as persistent but surmountable hurdles. The family's remote location complicates access to top-tier care, necessitating complex logistics and expenditures for overseas treatment. Descriptions of fundraising efforts, coordinating travel, and managing institutional bureaucracy offer granular realism that sheds light on broader systemic inequities. Yet through these challenges, the family demonstrates resourcefulness and determination, transforming obstacles into opportunities for solidarity and growth. The story also dedicates intimate focus to sensory and emotional detail, enhancing vividness and reader immersion. Hospital settings come alive with descriptions of sterile smells tinged by antiseptic, the cold gleam of surgical instruments, the muted beeping of monitoring devices, and the steady rhythms of clinical routine. Emotional textures are equally palpable: the patient's rapid heartbeat before procedures, the tightening grasp of loved ones, the flicker of a hopeful smile amid tears, and the quiet conversations shared in waiting rooms. These layers invite reader empathy, making the experience palpable beyond abstract narration. Crucial, too, are the quiet moments of grace embedded within adversity. The shared laughter over small victories, the warm cup of tea offered after a long day, the appreciative glance exchanged between caregivers. These scenes celebrate the enduring human spirit and the relational depth that sustains hope. The narrative's rhythm, balancing tension with release, despair with aspiration, reflects a nuanced understanding of how lives unfold through intertwined moments of struggle and joy. As the story approaches its resolution, Miss Tukai's visual capacities steadily improve, becoming a profound symbol of renewal and empowerment. Her regaining the ability to read, recognize faces, and engage more fully with the world signifies not only physical healing, but also emotional liberation. These milestones are rendered with detail and care, pausing on the first steady gaze at a sunrise, the tactile joy of turning pages in a beloved book, the regained confidence walking in familiar streets without fear. The family's cautious yet growing optimism suffuses these moments, marking a new chapter, hopeful but grounded. The concluding passages expand beyond individual recovery to encompass reflections on community, care, and the nature of human resilience. It powerfully asserts that healing is a collective journey shaped by love, trust, and shared endurance. The narrative embraces the multiplicity of voices and experiences, patients, families, caregivers, medical professionals, amplifying the message that no one walks the path alone. In final reflections, the story contemplates the essence of transformation, from isolation to connectivity, from sickness to strength, from fear to hope. It honors the indelible human capacity to find meaning amid hardship, to rebuild in the face of loss, and to persist with grace and courage. Miss Tukai's journey becomes a universal metaphor for healing in all its forms: physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual. The story closes on a note of tempered triumphs, acknowledging the ongoing nature of life's challenges while celebrating human resilience and the sustaining power of empathy and communal care. It leaves readers with a lasting impression of complexity, hope, and the profound interdependence that undergirds healing and human connection.